What's up, preppers? I'm the community prepper. Today we got a hot button issue, and that is the food shortages. We have a perfect storm of supply chain issues, inflation, and food shortages. So what can you do to fortify yourself against this upcoming shitstorm? Stick around and find out. All right, guys, once again, I'm the community prepper. And if you are here, if you are enjoying my videos, if you are getting anything out of them that are helping you with your preparations, please like and subscribe to my channel. Also, it helps if you comment below and hit that notification bell to get alerted when I do put up another video. So let's get right into it. We have a shitstorm coming our way. We have inflation of record highs. We have food supply shortages worldwide. We have supply line being stalled all around the world, and the prices of food are going up and the scarcity is going up. So what I want to talk about in today's video is what is called a working pantry. A working pantry is basically an area you have set aside, maybe in your kitchen or your garage or your basement. It is a secondary food storage area apart from the normal foods you would keep in your cabinets in your kitchen. For example, you're cooking dinner, you run out of olive oil. Instead of not having olive oil, you have a bottle or two or three of olive oil in your working pantry. Your working pantry is almost a grocery store within your house. So foods that you normally would eat, you are going to be stocking in this working pantry. And the reason it's called a working pantry is because you store what you eat and you eat what you store. The point of making a working pantry is because you can put away 1, 2, 3, 4, 100 of things that you normally eat that you would have stockpiled in your house. A working pantry solves two problems. One, you never run out of an item that you might want or you're currently using and you're out of tomato ketchup or relish or like I said earlier, maybe olive oil. It solves that problem, but more importantly what it solves is in an emergency situation, when and if the grocery stores run out of food, you already have it. You'll find that most people in the prepping community recommend everyone starting with a minimum of 3 weeks of food. Of course, you could store much more than 3 weeks of food, but it's all dependent on your dedication, your money situation, your time and energy, and your dedication to being self-reliant in an emergency situation. Remember that human beings can only go about 3 days without water and 3 weeks without food. Yes, 3 weeks without food is a long time, but if you are in an emergency situation and you're doing physical labor, I would say 3 days without food would start to have an impact on your energy levels, your productivity, your blood sugars, and your basic, morale in your day-to-day activities. Also, children don't have the same mental maturity as adults do. And when their stomach starts to rumble and growl, you're gonna do whatever it takes to get your family food. There's a saying in the prepping community that the difference between civility and anarchy is 9 meals. I know sometimes people say that's kind of cliche, but just picture that if you were hungry enough, or more importantly, your 2 or 3 or 5-year-old is hungry enough, people can become savage when they are scared, hungry, and panicked. Your next door neighbor, who may be a friend, an acquaintance, will be capable of doing very outside of his normal character things to provide for his family. And that may include violence. Before we get really into how to create a working pantry, I want to emphasize the importance of water in your preps as well. 1 gallon a day per person for 3 weeks. That is the bare minimum that you want to have. Water is heavy and it is difficult to store, but water is also the most essential. It's the number one pillar of prepping. So if you need to make room in your garage, if you need to store gallons or jugs of water under your bed or in a closet or in a spare bedroom or in the backyard under a tarp, do that. If you do need to store water in a garage, remember, you want it off the ground. 2x4s work great, or you can buy some kind of shelving where you can stack water. Again, in my previous video, I did put a photo or video of my water stores, and I have 3 months of water in bottles in my garage, and it only cost me $99 for 3 months of water. Also, your drinking water should not include the water that you are going to wash with, bathe with, do dishes. You want to procure water in that situation. And this, of course, is if the water in your tap is not working. You can collect rainwater, you can collect river water, lake water. That's what you're going to want to use for your secondary means of water. You could also take that water and sterilize it and purify it for it to be potable. In addition to storing water and being able to procure it for safe drinking, you're also going to want to look into filtration. There's a tabletop system. It's called a Berkey gravity filter, and it's just a 2-chambered filter where you pour the water on top and it goes through a filter, and there's a little spigot on the bottom, just like your water cooler at work. And it is one of the best filters on the market today. Look into that. I'm not affiliated with them at all, but look at Berkey water filtration systems or units. Okay, now we'll get into how to even begin your working pantry. And the best rule is store what you eat what you store. If you don't eat Spam or canned oysters or, I don't know, cheese in a can, don't buy it, don't store it, because you're not going to use it, and eventually it's just going to go bad, it's just going to expire. If you don't eat what you store, it's just throwing money in the garbage. All right, a good example of storing what you eat, eating what you store is, say you like tuna fish. Say you eat tuna fish 1 or 2 days a week. You eat 2 cans of tuna fish a week. So in your working pantry, if you eat 2 cans of tuna a week, you are gonna, for a 3-week starter pantry, you're gonna wanna put 6 cans in that pantry. So next time you go to the store, instead of buying 2 cans for the week, buy 6. You have 2 cans in your cabinets in your kitchen, and you have 6 cans in your working pantry. When you run out of the tuna fish in your kitchen cabinets, you then go to your working pantry and take a can, and you then replace that can on your next trip to the grocery store. Okay, so starting a working pantry is going to take a little bit of upfront planning. You're going to want to sit down with your family or yourself if you live alone and write down everything you eat in a week, from your tuna fish to your pastas to your meat sauce to your jars of jelly to whatever, soups. And what you're going to do is create a list of all those things that you need, that you eat, that you like, that you're going to eat and not throw away when it's in the working pantry. You're going to go to the store and you're going to buy that X amount of that product. So say you have a son comes home from school 2 days a week. The kid likes to eat macaroni and cheese, all right? Simple math, 2 boxes a week times 3 weeks is 6 boxes. So next time you go to the store, you're gonna buy little Johnny 6 boxes of macaroni and cheese, stick them on your working pantry shelf, and then have the 2 in the cabinet. So when little Johnny is done with those macaroni and cheeses in the cabinets, he's gonna go to the pantry, take 1, and then on your next shopping trip, you're replacing the macaroni and cheese in the pantry, not the cabinets in your kitchen. In a working pantry, you're also going to want to think about everything from snacks, chips, candy, alcohol, cooking oils, salt, everything that you're going to need to use to cook with, or the other frivolities that you like to enjoy on a weekly basis. Also, don't try to go out and build a pantry in one visit to the grocery store. Maybe set a deadline of 3 to 4 weeks to create your pantry, and you'll see over time that you're getting a good stock of stuff, but then you also want to avoid what is called food fatigue. So food fatigue is basically, okay, so you wake up in the morning and you love a certain cereal, and you eat that box of cereal, and then you eat another box of cereal after that for 2 weeks, and then on the third week you can never put that kind of cereal in your mouth again because you're sick of it. So getting a variety of the same foods like cereal or canned fruit or whatever you're cooking or eating prevents food fatigue. Also, having a good diversity of other knickknacks, snacks, chips, and things like that in your working pantry will really help out with food fatigue as well. So what do you do once you've hit that 3-week mark? Most people want to expand it. Common thing to do is expand from 3 weeks to 3 months to 6 months to 1 year. Now, 1 year is a lot of food. That is a lot of dedication. That is a lot of money. That is a lot of space in your home to store food. Most people don't have the ability to do a year of food in a working pantry. Personally, I'm very secure with having a 6-month supply of food and water in my home. So that should be a really solid goal for most of you to try to achieve. But once you hit 3 weeks, go to 3 months. And it's the simple same math factor. So instead of the 1 week or the 3 week where you were multiplying how many items you eat in a week times 3, we're gonna do it for 3 months. So that would be 12, math. So if you eat a can of tuna a week, you're gonna wanna buy 12 cans of tuna to have in your working pantry. 12 weeks is 3 months. All right, so now you've hit that 3-month mark. You are almost untouchable. Having 3 months of food and water in your house is a milestone you should celebrate. This means that when an emergency happens, you have that security to feed your family for 3 months without interruption. Imagine what the stores would look like if the power was out for 3 days. Everything would be stripped out of those stores. Modern stores, like especially grocery stores, are called just-in-time supply lines, meaning that the back of the grocery store isn't filled with 4,000 cans of soup or things that are waiting to go on the shelves. Supermarkets are stocking those shelves, and those shelves are being depleted by customers every day. Just-in-time delivery means right when they're running out of soup or milk or yogurt or chips or whatever, those trucks are pulling in and unloading into their back doors where the employees are restocking the shelves. Okay, so you've got your working pantry, whether it's a 3-week, a 3-month, a 6-month, or a 1 year. For me personally, I'm a list guy. I like doing inventory. An inventory list of your food will take the guesswork and the estimations out of your head. You're not gonna wanna be counting your cans of soup in an emergency situation. There might be other things that you're dealing with your family and your community where you don't want to pull out and count how many cans of soup you have, divide it by how many family members you have, and then say, okay, we have X amount of days of soup. You want to just have everything on a list. I keep a list right up in my prepper pantry, and every time I take an item out of my prepping pantry, I know to cross it off the list. I then go to the dry erase board on my refrigerator and I write in, you took a candy bar, replace the candy bar in your prepping pantry. If you have that list, you know exactly how many of what you have in your house for your family. Let's also talk about perishable foods in preparation. Now, worst case scenario is grid down, no electricity, but that might not be the case, and hopefully it never is the case. So it's possible to get meats and butter and other perishables stored properly, especially meats. So meats in their packaging right out of the grocery store will last anywhere from 6 months to a year in your freezer. Now, freezer space is going to become a concern, but if you are planning for bad scenarios, it might be in your interest to get one of those chest freezers. You know, they're just a big block and they can hold hundreds of pounds of frozen meats. You can put these in your garage, probably most likely a garage. If you're in an apartment or a condo and you don't have an area to put a chest freezer, this might not be for you or your SOL. But if you do have the room and you have the funds and you want to plan appropriate, you can get a chest freezer. And to properly store meats, what you want to do is remove them from their packaging. You're going to want to get a food saver with the food saver bags, put the meat into the bags, and use the machine to pull all of the air out and then seal the meat. Doing that increases the longevity of frozen meat by up to 3 years. So 3 years of meat frozen in your chest freezer, you can eat steaks every day. So now I want you to start thinking outside the box when it pertains to your working pantry. Stored canned food items are fine, but eventually you're going to want to maybe cook from raw materials. That's when you're going to start putting everything from flour and sugar and salt and wheat and rice, and you're going to want to properly store those. Mylar bags or the food saver bags with the air out, and then you could take the oxygen absorbers and throw them in there. Bagged rice properly in a Mylar bag with an oxygen absorber has a shelf life of 25 years. So yeah, eating from cans and boxes and MREs and the freeze-dried million-year expiration like Mountain House where you just have to add water, that's all fine, but it's not an option long-term. Especially for your health. There's a lot of sodium, fats, preservatives in a lot of those items, and eventually you're going to want to use your natural ingredients to start cooking. So learning basic skills of cooking, like how to boil rice, how to cook beans, is going to become essential. So take the time now when things are normal to start learning those skills of cooking from scratch. An example is that I love milk. I will drink a nice cold glass of milk, but what if there's no more cows? What if the supermarkets are closed permanently? What I did was I found a delicious substitute for milk, and that's oat milk. And oat milk is made, it's so simple. It's just a process of blending oats and water and salt and a little sweetener. Sometimes you can use like a maple syrup. And then straining that with what's called a nut bag, not a nut sack, a nut bag, and you get creamy, delicious tasting milk. Now I want to talk about food and when it expires. Just like medicine, food expiration dates are stamped on packaging because that company wants to assure the taste and quality of that product. They don't want you to eat or consume a subpar product if they can't guarantee its freshness after X date. Of course, there are some hard lines with food and expiration dates. For example, I don't think I would be comfortable eating cheese or eggs that's been in my refrigerator for 6 months. I would, however, be comfortable eating a can of soup or a can of fruit that expired 1, 2, or 3 years ago. So how does that all relate to prepping and SHTF? If you're desperate, you're going to eat it. And expiration dates are more of, in my opinion, a guideline rather than a line in the sand of when you can no longer eat something. Also, for many items like oats and rice and beans, there technically really isn't an expiration date. However, it might not taste that great, but your chances of getting sick from it are very low. On the other hand, your chances of getting sick from perishable items like meat and eggs is very high. And there is a way to tell if food has gone bad, and that's basically by using your senses. First, use your eyes. Does it look scuzzy? Then you can use your nose. Does it smell off? Is it no longer smelling like cheese or meat or a rancid, rotting smell? And finally, you could always taste it. If you do have cooking oils that you are not sure if they have gone rancid or not, the simplest way to do that is to look at it. Is it the color of olive oil? Smell it. Does it smell like olive oil? Expired oils tend to smell almost like paint or soap or sour. So you'll know when you smell an oil if it's gone rancid. So I'm gonna put a chart up on the screen, and it's a list that I compiled of actual expiration dates for many of the items that you might eat. It also lists the proper or optimal way to store said items. I compiled this list late last night, and it's pretty inclusive as to what's on there. Of course, it's not every food on there, but it does give you a good starting point of how long to expect something to be good before it is unedible. Before we close this video, I want to mention also doing a food prep or a working pantry for your pets. Pets, to most people, are like children. I would hate to see my pets go hungry in a food emergency. If you've been to the store lately, you've seen the pet supplies are a fraction of what they were maybe a year ago. So don't forget to stock up on extra canned food, wet food, if you have cats, kitty litter. Also, their treats, some squeaker toys, and most importantly, if your cats need medication, go to your vet, ask for an extended supply of their medicine, and they'll probably be more than happy to give it to you. All right, preppers, so there's my video on a working pantry. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of it, and I hope more than anything that it started the critical thinking of how important food and storing food for an emergency situation is. That's it. I'm the community prepper. Go out and get your food, build your working pantry, and refuse to be a victim. Eating from cans and boxes and MREs and emergency food like the mountain. All right, guys, once again, I'm the community prepper. Please, if you do get, God damn it. Okay, so starting a working pantry, it's gonna take a little bit of planning and, sorry. Okay, so starting a working let's do that over and not use soup. Let's do tuna fish. Including water in your working pantry or your preps is also important. I'm gonna start this over.